Ahoy hoy gang, if this is your first time with us, welcome! And if you're joining us for a previous video, hey, we love to see it and I hope you're doing well. It's season 7! Our first season after the 100 episode milestone and around our halfway point in the pre-movie era of the show. At this point, Bob's Burgers was very much entering the mainstream in full force. It was a streaming success and was testing well with really every key demographic, and looking at Season 7, it's easy to see why. We're gonna get lactose litigation, LARPing, the voice of an angel, and so much more. So it's time to ask those 3 age-old questions. What worked, what failed, what egg hunts will be curtailed? Crank it up to a Spinal Tap 11, because it's time to review Season 7. Louise has the flu and is excited that she's going to miss school until, she actually gets sick and starts to run a real fever. Which, of course, gets worse when she refuses to take her cold medicine because she doesn't want to get groggy. I'm so conflicted, because on the one hand, I'm excited Louise is being a kid, but also she is being the worst parts of a kid, and it's just, it's so annoying. It's so annoying. But again, kids do that. It makes sense. It's just, She asks for a Coochie Kopi doll, and Linda ends up dropping it in the toilet, and they end up melting her precious Coochie Kopi, profusely apologize, and then Bob goes out to find another one, while Louise wanders around the dreamscape with her melted Coochie Kopi that would be referenced for the rest of the show, even showing up in the movie. It's okay. Like, Louise says she'll never forgive her family for melting her toy while trying to fix it after an accident happened. Remember when Louise superglued Bob's ass to the toilet? Remember when Louise sawed the support of the couch so it'd break and they'd have to get a new couch? They weren't even being malicious. They didn't sell the Coochie Kopi or anything. An accident happened. Granted, I'm sure it just stands out more to me since I've been marathoning the series and it was literally in the last season. It just feels that much more frustrating. Like, a kid isn't gonna have that kind of introspection a lot of the time. And sure, the dreamscape is her fevered brain telling her to love her family, and it's all just kinda there. It is inventive, and I do see a lot of people loving the visuals of the episode, but other than those, it's really just kinda fine. Oh, and Amy Schumer guest stars as a customer at the toy shop. She's in it for like 3 lines, so, they're not playing around with guest stars this season. Keep up. Flu-ouise is a castle rating and medicine finally taking 7 out of 10. Teddy wants to impress his ex-wife, so he brings the Belchers out on his new boat so he can drive past her boyfriend's place and show off how rich and successful he is. Tina wants to prove she's responsible enough for a cell phone and carries the restaurant eraser everywhere to show she won't lose it. Simple and straightforward plot, so you better hope those jokes are great. And are they? Oh, you better believe it! It's a Teddy-centric episode where he's effectively making peace with his old relationships and moving on. The handyman fixing himself after he gets the family marooned on an island populated by long-haired longhorns. It's all about healing and developing as an individual, and Teddy is absolutely incredible this episode. Love it. Love everything about it. Larry Murphy is such an integral part of why Bob's Burgers is as great as it is, and to take the time to focus on Teddy really gives him a chance to just completely and utterly shine and leave it all out there. And as we get deeper into the show, we're going to get more and more Teddy-focused episodes, and I'm absolutely here for that. He has grown into an incredible character. Also, it's a family leaving the restaurant episode, which is fantastic. They actively go on an adventure. Teddy makes life infinitely more difficult, and even by the end, he's setting the boat on fire with Bob's wallet and their keys in it. Teddy is a lot at all times, and I'm so glad we had an episode where Teddy is just his most Teddy self and letting himself be vulnerable in front of the family. The Tina story absolutely feels like an afterthought, but I think that's the point. It's everything for Tina for a minute in the moment, while everyone else is just more determined to, survive. But even as they're climbing the mountain, sure enough, Linda is telling Teddy to, hey, Get it all out. Pretend I'm your ex-wife and just yell everything you want to yell out. And he gets it out. He cleanses himself and sees what unrequited love gets you when he learns more about the island's owner. Now, it is a bit of he got all these longhorns because he loved the woman so much. Yeah, okay. And I'll tow you back. That's really convenient. Thank you. I'll see you next Sunday at 8:30. It's just good Bob's Burgers. Yeah, it's a little coincidental, but who cares? You run with it. See Me Now is a high-flying, flare-firing 10 out of 10. It's our Halloween episode. Woo! Tina has a great idea to go as a hot mess for the Halloween costume contest, and then Tammy steals her idea because she's Tammy, the absolute best character ever written. Tammy exists to be the worst. So, Mr. Ambrose tells Tina to awaken to the power of the dark arts, and she becomes a witch threatening to curse or hex anyone that gets in her way, even crossing the crossing guard, who turns out to be, you guessed it, an even more powerful witch. I would believe crossing guards would do that. And yeah, she has to get uncursed and get rid of her spooky witch powers. Wow, what? Tina went mad with power? That's never happened before and will never happen again, and I am shocked and appalled that they would insinuate such a thing. The B story has Bob trying to figure out who keeps stealing his pumpkins, and it turns out Mr. Fishoder has been stealing everyone's carved pumpkins to make a giant display for people to walk around and appreciate for a nominal fee. It's absolutely something he would do, and the shot of it is, man, it's honestly one of the most gorgeous shots of the whole season. I would make that my computer desktop screensaver. And I feel old saying every bit of that sentence. And even if I wanted to be critical of this episode, it is infinitely more Halloween than Tina and the Real Ghost. It feels like a proper setup and payoff, and hey, I'm fine with Tina going on power trips, so long as she stays consistent as a character. Is it my favorite Halloween episode? No, absolutely not. The Haunting exists. But it's still absolutely solid. Great jokes, satisfying payoffs, and Tammy, admittedly, is a very hateable villain. When you can do Tammy right, she works. I do appreciate that we have very few Tammy is redeemable stories for now. Teen a Witch is a curse carved and hex handling 8 out of 10. Jimmy Pesto has been saving buku bucks with a new meat supplier and he decides to offer Bob an even better deal. Jack Conway the Meat Man would be played by everyone's favorite catering waiter, Ken Marino. Bob gets the new meat, and while Teddy loves it, he thinks it tastes off, and Hugo and Ron bust in to tell him what he's done. Jack Conway is a horse meat salesman, and Hugo wants Bob to help him take the man down for selling his illegal meat. So the Belchers go to a backyard bash at the apartments, and Bob does a funny little sting operation. That's really the whole episode. No major B story other than Tina wanting to do some vigilante justice for the horses that have been eaten, which, yeah, sure, it's a little aggro, but I don't hate the spirit, Teenster. It's just, yeah, it's a very awkward episode that feels very, very Stoogian. Hugo feels off. Ron is just sort of there, and Bob is awkward the entire time, just trying to be the best mole he can be. I just find it really hard to believe that Hugo is this inept when he's trying to do a sting. I get it's not something that, health inspectors do all the time, but it really does stand out. It feels like maybe have him say, Bob, you've got to do this for me, or something, Linda thing that you've forgotten about. But no, it just kind of happens and then ends. I wish there was something to actually hold on to, but the episode just sorta goes to the credits and it's over. It's got that weird energy and weird potential that you would expect out of Bob's Burgers, but with execution, it's absolutely one of, if not the weakest episode of the entire season. They Serve Horses, Don't They? Is slipping and sliding 6 out of 10. It's tax season! Bob and Linda need to go and do their taxes, and when Tina gets herself put in detention to flirt, Jean is left to babysit Louise as they go on a wacky adventure. Oh, and then Bob and Linda accidentally take some edibles with their tax agent, Gerald, who would be played by Eric Griffin, and they, do not take it well. Linda cannot handle her stuff. Louise and Jean drop a moldy cantaloupe they found in the fridge on the ground to see what would happen, and it ends up just so happening to hit Logan, so Jean and Louise have to escape Logan's kinda 100% justified fury. Like, again, they were just dropping it on the street. They were not going after Logan. He just happened to be skateboarding past at the time and just ends up getting a whole shirt of rotten cantaloupe, which I can't really blame him for wanting to terrorize the kids for that. He chases the kids around Wonder Wharf, they hide his shrimp, Louise is panicked, and when they're backed into a corner, when she needs him the most, Jean steps in to keep his sister safe. I went into this episode ready to hate every bit of it, and yet, it's actually one of my favorite episodes of the entire season. The jokes are fantastic, and the Linda and Bob story is perfect, and feels like the perfect mix of absurd and commonplace. Of course, they would eat edibles with their tax agent and have to tell him, hey buddy, maybe your jokes aren't the bangers you think they are. It's so weirdly wholesome to see them eating spiked snickerdoodles and bonding. And like, I was genuinely amazed that I was laughing at something Logan said about his therapy. Logan! An episode where Logan is actually amusing and Jean's weirdness works to his benefit? A deep emotional core that showed Louise and Jean actually bonding? It's just, yeah, it's fantastic. And then you have Tina just trying to get this guy. She's like, oh, maybe he just really, really likes me or something. I don't know. Like, cool, whatever. It doesn't turn into anything. It's just dumb. And sometimes Bob's Burgers can just be this dumb, fun show, and it shines. Large Brother, Where Fart Thou is an overripe and trip-inducing 10 out of 10. It's our Thanksgiving episode. Mr. Frond loves putting on shows the day before Thanksgiving that end up turning the half day into a full day. So Louise is determined to create a show so bad that everyone will hate it and leave early. It's just the producers reference, but with the play being Tina's Thanksgiving-themed erotic friend fiction. To the show's credit, it very, very rarely makes a topical reference to just make a reference. If they're referencing something, there's usually a purpose for it, like back in Hawk and Chick very obviously being a lone wolf and cub reference. It adds that extra layer of believability into the world. Because younger viewers probably have no idea what the producers is. This is for the older viewers, for the parents watching with their kids. And even then, the producers is a kinda niche thing. Yes, there was the 2005 musical and movie, but I don't know. It's weird. Because even the anthologies make reference to like 80s action movies. And sure, my generation has seen those, but what 14-year-old is getting these references? It's again, for a much older audience, and it shines because of it. It doesn't pull its punches, and I will always appreciate that at Bob's Burgers. You make that producer's reference. You make that Lone Wolf and Cub reference. You bring up Ingmar Bergman. Like, do it, Bob's Burgers. I believe in you. And Bob's Burgers actually does a really great job of balancing writing for younger and older viewers and makes it a much more universal experience, which gives it a much wider appeal. And I can talk about all of this because the episode as a whole is fine. Oh look, Linda found a potato that she thinks looks like her grandfather. That's definitely unique. Sure enough, Tina's play is incredibly graphic, but she uses it as a chance to celebrate her individuality, and it's honestly got super stellar pacing. The potato story is dumb. Like, dumb. But I think the play is extreme enough that it sort of balances out. Not the best, not the worst, and as far as Thanksgiving episodes go, I'll take it. The Quirk-ducers is a giblet exploding 7 out of 10. It's the Christmas episode. Ho, ho, ho. Mr. Fischoeder wants to have Bob join him for his gingerbread building contest with his fellow rich guys. This would actually see the return of Andres Dubuchet as one of the rich guys. The other one would be played by the legendary Andrew Daly. And while Bob and Calvin are dealing with that, Linda takes the kids caroling and tries to rope anyone and everyone in until they come to a super creepy house and wonder what kind of person lives there after everyone else just sort of slammed the door on them. The episode is really just a Bob and Calvin bonding episode. Calvin only invited Bob so he wouldn't get last place in the gingerbread house contest, but Bob shows him that his contest is a reason that Calvin and his friends come together to talk and hang out. And it's actually a really great introspection into Calvin. Calvin loses year after year. He doesn't want Felix playing along, and he's always trying to show up the other rich guys. In the city, he's the guy that basically runs everything. Do you know who the mayor of Bob's Burgers is? You don't see him. You don't know anything about him, but you know Calvin. You know Mr. Fischoeder. And here you're seeing he's not at the top of the totem pole. Even if it's just about him being super awkward with making gingerbread houses and they're all pulling out their pieces and blasting away the competition. Calvin is trying and he's tired of being pushed around. So he has Bob come in to get pushed around. And it's really kind of beautiful. Mr. Fischoeder is bonding with Bob. He's showing a vulnerable side of himself to Bob. They're more than a landlord and a tenant at this point. I think you could probably say that Bob and Calvin are friends. The episode is honestly super fun. I really enjoyed the Linda story, and Dave Herman does fantastic as the caroling potential murderer. Just, the best comedic chills when he shows up. It actually feels like Christmas and delivers on everything it needs to and gives us more of Bob being a likable guy that people actually want to talk to. The last gingerbread house on the left is a frosting foundational 9 out of 10. Bob gets a banjo that he swears he's going to learn how to play. The B story, the A story. The focus of this episode. Tina sprains her ankle and has to use a little robot to get around the school while Jean and Louise have their own fun with the robot and, oh look, they're telling the security guard that they are their boss now. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun and exciting? Are we having fun yet? Oh look, Tina uses the robot as a way to interact with everyone and even wants to take it to the big school bonfire so she and Jimmy Jr. can dance. What? Jimmy Jr. feels more comfortable talking to the robot than he does the actual Tina and uses it as a way to bond and show off his really awesome poetry? Aww. It's a super predictable Tina episode from start to finish. You've seen it before, it plays out exactly how you think it would, and it's the embodiment of just a nothing episode. No joke particularly stands out, and even that bonfire scene where Jimmy's giving his poetry slam about cars and everything, it's just kind of the worst. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the episode. Even if you've never seen it before, it's predictable to a fault, and yeah, it's a fine background noise episode, but doesn't do much more than that. Ex-macy is Kumbaya singing 6 out of 10. It's a Valentine's Day vignette episode! Alright, a lot of moving pieces here. Bob wants to dance with Linda, so he and Teddy go to learn salsa so he can spice up Valentine's Day, except they're not teaching salsa at their dance hall, they're teaching hip-hop. See how I'm walking here with one foot to the side? Well, that's hip-hop. That scene, that reference to the instructional video, this episode. They're taught by Shelley, and this is the first appearance of her son, Flips Whitefudge, played by Daniel Van Kirk. I'm just gonna say it, Brooke Dillman nails the cadence. I mean, that is a perfect impression. Just, they didn't like how I was walking. Well, that's hip-hop. And she's like, I love everything about this. Go on, tell me more. Jean runs into a substitute lunch lady who is making chocolate for her Valentine, and Jean is completely and utterly enraptured since he's down with the thickness and chocolate. Isabella would be played by Gabby Sanlitro. Linda helps Miss Selbo get over her breakup, and she rebounds super quick. Tina has the bubble guts but wants to talk to Jimmy Jr., who's on a trampoline, and Louise thinks that Rudy is going to give her a Valentine, but he's actually trying to romance Chloe, played by everyone's favorite musical and voice acting legend, Stephanie Beatriz. Chloe having absolutely no interest in Rudy and just using him for his homework, so Louise kisses Rudy so his heart isn't completely shattered. It's a lot, but believe me when I say it's one of the best episodes of Bob's Burgers of all time. It doesn't even open with an intro. They had a creative vision for this episode, and it's so meticulously crafted that every story feels satisfying. Ellie, that's not just me saying that either. This would be another Emmy Award-winning episode of the show, which, frankly, this one deserves it way more than Mazel Tina ever did. That episode was good. This episode is next frickin' level. This episode is why Bob's Burgers exists. This is an episode that could only happen in the 7th or later seasons. This is an episode they have earned. It's the strongest Valentine's Day episode. I don't think any will ever take its throne, and it's just fantastic. Bob actually is a hip-hop stepping, rebounding 10 out of 10. Gail's been getting professional headshots from Mr. Business, her cat, because she found a pet agent that thinks he could really be something. Bob, in an attempt to make sure they don't keep paying for Gail to do whatever she wants, including the aforementioned pet pics, decides to help train Mr. Business and ends up bonding with the cat. The pet agent, Ian, would be played by an aficionado of last week's John Oliver. Oh, and the B story is, the rest of the family enjoys eating dry cat food and don't know why. Are they eating real food and thinking it's cat food? Nope, it's just straight up cat food Tina found under the sink, starts munching on, going, why do I like this? Jean and Louise get in on it, and when they're at the cat show, oh look, there's Linda sampling all the cat food. Definitely on their side of the family. Not that they hid it. Well, Bob knows that Linda eats cat food sometimes. It's just like, Linda, I thought you would stop. Come on. Linda, no. There's no twist, there's no subversion whatsoever, just cat food tastes good to them. And honestly, really love the episode. It's so dumb, but in a way that at least feels like controlled chaos. They are absolutely doing the dumbest things imaginable, but it's exactly how the Belchers would handle generic pet competes and show trope episode. Now, I'm not about to sit here and say it's better than Bob, actually, but it's definitely worth a revisit every single time I go through the season. Also, John Oliver is just terrific in it. He brings this high energy, he's constantly firing back, and it really feels impactful. There's no business like Mr. Business is a chef cat imitating 8 out of 10. The B story of the episode is Bob dealing with a guy that fakes a hair being in his food to get free food from the restaurants in the area, so Bob works with the other restaurant owners to waste his time, and it's all perfectly fine and whatever. He doesn't read his contracts, has to pay for a strip show. Yay! The A story, though? Now that's the good stuff. Louise is part of a mock trial where after the first cases with fictional characters don't really go anywhere, Louise is left defending Mr. Frond in the case of who ate Mr. Ambrose's yogurt. They'd also have a special guest judge for these mock trials. Judge Conklin, played by one of the greatest in the game, a man that knows how to make a ruckus, Gary Anthony Williams. So, Louise has to defend her mortal enemy and get to the bottom of the yogurt scheme when she believes Mr. Frond didn't actually do it and decides to do the right thing. Love everything about the episode, and while the Bob stuff isn't as strong, it's still not bad at all. But this is one of the best Louise stories of the show, and it's easy to see why. It uses her strengths without making her the source of the main conflict. She's able to just be herself while realizing that Mr. Frond is a human just like anyone else, and she starts to have some kind of respect for him. She wouldn't want him to railroad her, so why would she railroad him? It's nice. It's nice to see some kind of growth from Louise, and admittedly makes it a lot more frustrating when Frond does railroad her later in the show. I really truly love this episode, and it really shows that this season is one of the most solid of the entire show. We have been getting some real bangers, honestly, back to back. Even the cat food episode is good. How do you pull that off? And the fact that we're doing this well after 100 episodes speaks volumes for the creativity at play. A Few Gurt Men is a dance disturbing, non-refundable 9 out of 10. When Gene's favorite candy, Chunky Blastoffs, gets its formula changed, the family goes to the production plant for a tour, and he's able to sneak away and meets the last living sprat, Ferdy, played by hat-wearing 30 Rock working Judah Friedlander. Ferdy is just a giant man-child that gives up on everything much like Gene does, and the two try to get Chunky Blastoffs back to how they were, with Gene actually putting in a lot more effort than he ever has before, and desperately tries to bring back his favorite candy, with no luck. He ultimately does a rousing speech that does motivate the board, but when the costs are too high, they aren't able to do it. However, Ferdy is able to give him a box of old Chunky Blastoffs for his trouble. Honestly, even though it's not an episode for me, it's easily one of the best Gene episodes and a great showcase of some of his more positive traits. This season, they're definitely giving Gene a bit more identity. He protected Louise earlier, and now he's fighting for something he's passionate about, and that absolutely means something for him when we're usually shown that he's a coward that'll take the easy way out every time he can. Gene is the Usopp of the Bob's Burgers crew. And that's not to say that the B story isn't great. It's Bob helping Teddy get golf balls at a golf course, and it's phenomenal. It just feels like a fantastic cutaway gag for a story that has Gene growing up in real time. Bob's Burgers does a lot of experimenting with A and B story structures, and when it fails bad. But when it succeeds, oh, it's easy to see why the show is so beloved by so many. And honestly, anything that gives me more of John Benjamin and Larry Murphy just sort of yelling at each other is good enough for me. I love those stories the most. They're, good old Bob B stories. They're the best. This was an episode written with love and care, and you can really tell. Like Gene for Chocolate is a pro shop stiffing 9 out of 10. Alright, this might actually be the worst episode of the season. Tina and Linda are on a school trip to listen to a female astronaut speak, and Tina meets Dylan while Linda meets a fellow mom and Amy, who tells Linda to get used to her daughter blowing her off and not needing her till they're in their 30s, and Linda refuses to lose her tiny precious baby Tina. Oh look, Linda overcorrects way too much, tries to be a cool mom, and ends up getting herself kicked out after messing with the fountain, and has to sneak her way back in and make the whole experience as awkward as humanly possible. Yay! Amy, Dylan's mom, would be played by Carrie Kenny, another Reno 911 alum, so that's cool, but yeah, that's the whole episode. Predictable and empty. Oh, the B story is Bob didn't have a bachelor party, so the kids throw him one until he has to pick up Linda after she gets kicked out. Cool. It's an empty episode, which is so disappointing right after I said the show really hit its stride. But, like I said, sometimes experiments fail. You just gotta celebrate that they're still trying new things. Linda is an awkward mom who panics at the drop of a hat. It makes sense she wouldn't want to lose her bond with Tina, but also she needs to have some more faith in Tina not turning out like Dylan. It's just a weird, awkward episode that never really delivers on what it's going for. Oh, look, an astronaut that does karate. That's so fun. I also kind of wish they had gotten like a special guest star for the astronaut, maybe even an actual lady astronaut. Come on. Buzz Aldrin was in Futurama. You can get someone for this, I'm sure of it. The episode just felt like an afterthought. The Grandmama-Pest Hotel is an apple juice shot taking 5 out of 10. When Tina's favorite aquarium is about to get shut down, the kids try to help rebrand the aquarium as a religion, and the tax agent finds himself so enthralled by the teachings of Aquaticism that he becomes a devout follower, and they have to try and keep the lie going as long as possible. Bob and Linda compete to see who has the best customer service skills. I think the thing that bugs me the most about this episode is the lack of new guest stars. Everyone in this episode is a voice you've heard earlier in this season, and it's just starting to feel very samey. The idea isn't bad, the episode as a whole just feels sped through. The third act is also just sorta there. I keep looking at this episode and think, oh, I'll finally have something to talk about with it, but no, not at all. I know the episode, I know I watched it, but the moment I look away, I forget all about it. It's the silence from Doctor Who if they were a Bob's Burgers episode. The kids save an aquarium. That's it. That's the plot. Yeah, sure. Aquatic education. It's just, the jokes are weird and don't really do anything for the overall show. It just feels awkward. And again, I cannot emphasize enough, the speed dating at the end of the third act just feels way too long. It's not for me. Sometimes the concepts are really just that simple and the jokes don't justify it. It's okay? I don't know. Aquaticism is a sea cucumber pumping 6 out of 10. Alright, here we go. The good stuff. Just inject it right into me veins. Tina joins debate club where she starts to learn all about bringing some real passion to debates and wooing Henry, who uses some manipulative counterpoints to get the two to date. Fun fact, this would be the first appearance of Mr. DeSanto, who would be a recurring teacher later on, and he'd be played by everyone's favorite big-mouthed man, Nick Kroll. Well, the debate team keep winning, so they get to go to the finals against the King's Head Island debaters, led by Sasha, and Tina finds herself absolutely wooed by the ankle-showing New Zealand heartthrob Duncan, played by comedic super legend Rhys Darby. Our flag means this episode's about to be a banger. I love Duncan. I love that no one understands him because of his quirky Kiwi ways. I love his energy. Everything about him is perfect. Again, I'm a very, very biased Rhys Darby fan, but he does fit perfectly into the show and really elevates the A story. The B story has Louise and Jean making a stop-motion Meat Man video, and it's childish, wholesome, and utterly delightful. They even end up blowing up the Meat Man in the last shot, and it's glorious. Gave me big thank you for rewinding energy. You know, back when Jack Black was funny and not screwing over his friends because he yearned for the mines. I absolutely adore this episode, and it's one of the strongest Tina episodes yet. We've had some weak ones this season, but this shows they still know exactly who Tina is and what they want to do with her. Also, Jim Gaffigan as Henry is seriously underappreciated. He has been a phenomenal addition to the cast, and I love seeing Henry whenever he shows up just to hear Jim Gaffigan be as nerdy as possible. I don't know, he hits the ear right, you know, but I'm biased. He's a fellow Hoosier. Ain't Missed Debatin' is a source supported 9 out of 10. It's time for the yearly Easter egg hiding contest! After Linda gets some booze from a grocery store parking lot, the best place to get it, she and Bob hide eggs all around the house, and when the kids find all but one, the search becomes frantic as the entire place reeks of rotten egg. They search top to bottom, don't want their home burned down, and sure enough, there's a raccoon that stole the egg and has it in the vents. That's the whole episode. No B story or anything. It's just the whole family looking for these eggs, the kids hating how competitive Bob and Linda get over it, and everyone just trying to survive. Yeah, that is how Bob's Burgers would tackle the generic everybody does an Easter egg hunt episode. And yet, it does show the competitive spirit between Bob and Linda and how they keep their passion alive with these little contests. They're always trying to beat each other, and everyone still very obviously cares for one another throughout the debacle. It's not a bad episode at all, and it's probably the better version of this frankly overdone trope. It's just an episode you'll either love or hate. It's self-explanatory, there's nothing too deep about it, and it's an episode I just don't think I can watch anymore because I've seen it just too many times, even though it's still incredibly solid for what it is. Eggs for Days is a served on some bacon trays 7 out of 10. Teddy watches the kids and throws his back out, so the kids have to skate him down the street to hopefully get his chiropractor to fix him. Teddy is watching the kids because Linda and Bob are going to LARP through Linda's favorite British period drama by working in a fancy mansion and having rose garden discourses and being all fancy. Ooh, gonna have a parfait, yeah. This would actually be the first appearance of Jessica St. Clair in the series, who would play Nancy this episode. She also plays the mom in Royal Crackers. Look at that, a bunch of people that are really talented are in Royal Crackers. Maybe you should watch it on HBO Max or something, just saying. Bob begins schmoozing with the haves, and Linda helps the have-nots rebel so they can have their hoity-toity parfait delight. Oh look, a simple-to-explain plot. Do the jokes justify it? Absolutely. Another absolute banger of an episode that shows we're going into the last stretch of the season on a super high note. The Teddy stuff with the kids is absolutely fantastic, and they get a free lesson in physics. Plus, again, you see Bob being super personable, even when he has no idea what he's talking about, and it works fantastically. It's just a fun episode of Bob's Burgers that really shines, mostly because of John Michael Higgins as Mr. Perkins. He'll play more and more antagonists as the show goes on, but he's just so nose in the air that he works perfectly. Again, the revolving roster of guest actors is so diverse and so talented that it really shines when you have the right combination together, and it's not just Dave Herman talking to himself. And I think that's why Aquaticism is so frustrating for me. You have all of these frequent guest stars. Maybe experiment with it a little bit more. Give us something just a little bit more edgy. Bring in more guest stars like we'll see in later seasons. Just seemed like an afterthought episode, especially compared to something like Zero LARP 30, where people like Dave Herman and John Michael Higgins are in the episode, but they're playing characters that are at least expressive enough they feel unique. Zero LARP 30 is a brandy and cigar enjoying 9 out of 10. Bob wants to take Gene to a laser rock show he went to when he was a kid so he can share the experience with them. Linda takes Tina and Louise to see Gretchen at the Totally Not the American Girl doll shop, where they decide to work together to smuggle a dinner doll out of the store, and Louise actually falls for it a bit because she's allowed to just be a kid sometimes, and that's fine. The B story is fine and whatever and predictable, but I'm glad it's there to break up the A story. We also do get more of Gretchen, and she is admittedly a fun part of the episode. Larry Murphy gets to be somewhere in the episode, and I stan it. So, when Bob and Gene get into the show, Gene runs out because it's too loud and jarring, so Bob has to take Gene back to the car and just plays the music from the show to him and tells him the story, and the rest of the episode is them sneaking in with the help of a scalper voiced by famed insomniac Dave Attell and good/evil Nick played by Wyatt Cenac, who you'd recognize from BoJack Horseman. A dad wanting to experience a rock opera with his son, and it's easily one of the most wholesome episodes Bob's Burgers has ever had. Now, am I a filthy, dadless, biased viewer? Absolutely. But there is a magic in a father and son bonding over media that really sings through here. Bob is always considerate of Gene, and even when they get in, he's fashioning earplugs so Gene can better enjoy the show. I had sensitive ears and grew up in a racing family. Those moments just being next to your dad as he smiles and watches what he loves means the world for a kid, even if it's not something you initially enjoy. And it's so wonderful to see Bob making it as accessible for Gene as possible so that he can hopefully love it just as much as he did. You learn to love things through the passion of those around you. This episode is beautiful, and honestly, every part is perfectly paced and does everything it needs to. The laser-inth is an espionage mastering, rock-saving 10 out of 10. Linda is helping out at the school when she hears that Louise has in-school suspension because she stood up to a bully. Linda doesn't think it's right for her to be punished for helping out another kid and decides to spring her for a day on the wharf while the two actively avoid Mr. Frond and enjoy ice cream. All the while, Bob gets a surge of cyclist customers and Teddy has to step in and help out at the restaurant and just do the worst job imaginable. I love that Linda knows the system is broken, and we've even seen Linda act up when she was younger. She knows Louise is a good kid deep down, and she wants to reward her for doing the right thing even if the school is punishing her. Which, Mr. Frond could be a little lenient with Louise here. She did save him in the yogurt case. I'm just saying, they pick and choose when things are canon. But to have Linda defending Louise is such an important element to showcase, and Linda is actively putting her chance at the bake sale on the line to do something nice for her daughter. It's honestly the strongest Louise and Linda episode of the show so far, and is just a lot of fantastic bonding, with Bob and Teddy being a great odd couple to break up the A story. Again, it's a perfect experimental A story finding an experimental B story and absolutely shining. They don't interact at any point. They're just their own standalone adventures, and when both work, they both sing. Thelma and Louise, except Thelma is Linda, is a mom pushing, order taking 9 out of 10. I hear the drums. Things have been quiet for too long. We only have 3 more episodes of the season, and we haven't had a single one yet, have we? Have we? You don't even know what I'm talking about. Or maybe you do. Maybe you think it's weird too. Yeah, that's right. You didn't think I'd be talking to you several hours into a very long video. Yet here I am. I'm calling you out. How's it going? Hope you're enjoying the video. Make sure to subscribe. What, did you think we were going to get a season without one? You must think I'm a fool. Good things never last, dear viewer. Good things never last. When Linda is sick, she can't make it to school to watch the kids' performances, so the kids all, you guessed it, tell their stories about their shows in this season's anthology episode. They're all based around Mother's Day, and this would be one of the first Mother's Day episodes of the show, which it's crazy how many holiday episodes there are a season after a point, and how creative they still manage to get with some of them. So yeah, first one is a Western about a town with no moms. It's actually Louise's story, so she's not bringing up the rear for a change. A weird creation myth story follows, where Gene effectively creates his own mom, and that's a whole thing. And finally, Tina's story that talks about the most important moms of them all, Ripley and the Alien Queen from the Alien franchise. And you know what? Maybe I'm just a sucker for the play elements, but it's personally my favorite anthology episode yet. I love a good play layout, hence my love for American Dad's Blood Crieth Unto Heaven. And while most anthologies feel like a very cheap attempt at shoving 3 partial ideas together to make an episode, there's at least consistent themes that bridge each of these stories and make the episode stronger than the sum of its weird parts. Tina's is probably my favorite, and Gene's is definitely my least favorite, but overall, the first anthology I didn't feel like it was a total waste of my time. Mom Lies and Videotapes is a cable suspended 8 out of 10. There's an opening on the Bog Day Parade for a new float, and Teddy tells the Belcher family to enter since they'd automatically at least get 5th place and walk away with $500 dues. The family builds a float, Jimmy Pesto builds a float to compete, and tries to push them out of the race, with the Belchers ending up rained out and in pickle costumes, already struggling and giving up knowing Jimmy Pesto is gonna wow everyone with his especially damp pizza. They fight their way through, take an unsanctioned detour, and Teddy loses his tether to society while being holed up in the driver's seat for 10 minutes. But when Bob starts to have hope and believes in everything, things start turning around. He stops dooming and glooming and just starts dancing and bringing that same energy Linda wanted, and gets the people to not only push his float to the end, but gets them to love his burgers and get that party roaring. I love the shirt cannons they have, and Tina blasting Jimmy Jr. during that final stretch with one is easily one of my favorite scenes of the entire show. Honestly, this would be a fantastic season finale episode. It has a deep emotional core, some of the best jokes of the season, and of course they're all in pickle costumes because Linda just kept making them, which is so delightfully on brand, it just works. They're involving the community, they're going through town. It's everything you could expect from a Bob's Burgers season finale episode all in one. It's a perfect example of what mid-season Bob's Burgers is like. You're starting to see that more emotional transition creeping more and more into the formula, but it still has that sharp, dark comedy that made the show so unique in the earlier seasons. It's just this perfect marriage of heart and creativity that shines brilliantly. Paraders of the Lost Float is a blind and delightful 9 out of 10. And here we are, the actual season finale. Bob is going to the last day closing sale at an outdoor goods store while Linda and the kids go and watch Gail's one-woman show. While Bob is at the store, he runs into Austin, an employee played by veteran and putt-putt intellectual Rob Riggle. Bob falls asleep in a tent, and when the store closes, he's locked inside and has to somehow escape. Turns out Austin stayed behind too to grab some gear, so the two have to break out together while Linda and the kids continue to watch Gail's one-woman show. And I know that sounds like I'm bashing it, but I actually really kinda love it. Here Bob is being his most athletic and creative self he's ever had to be, other than when he's cutting a plane free, and Linda and the kids have to watch Gail's one-woman show. Which I just need to say, Rob Riggle and Megan Mullally make this episode sing. Sometimes literally. Gail, I would say at this point, is her most perfected self. She's weird, she's wild, but compare her to the other eccentric characters in other shows, and she's still incredibly unique. Crazy cat lady? Sure, yeah, kinda, but she also eats lipstick and does one-woman shows while attracting Greek men at class reunions. She's just kind of her own thing. And Austin is the absolute best foil for Bob as he's trying not to die. He's just so optimistic and positive and just, yeah, he's so vibing and perfect. Now, yes, I do still think Paraders of the Lost Float should have been the actual season finale, since it had more of a community story and wasn't really broken into an A or B plot, but that's not to say this episode is bad at all. It works for everyone, the jokes are great, and John Benjamin as Bob in this episode is really something special. Listen to how he's performing Bob here. Watch a couple of episodes of Archer Review available right now, maybe some home movies, and you'll see that here there is a raw earnestness in how John Benjamin is playing Bob that makes him that much more endearing. There's a passion behind the voice that really makes it go that extra mile. Get it? Like the name of the episode. Boosh. Into the Mild is a standing ovation deserving 9 out of 10. And there we have it, that's season 7. Anything you think I was right on, wrong on? What was your favorite episode? Least favorite? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked what you saw, make sure to like, subscribe, and tell your friends we're out here. Season 7 was really more of the same. Except when the same is a steady stream of quality, it's really more just maintaining the status quo. There isn't any noticeable dip in creative talent or the quality of episodes, and even if some episodes just don't work for me personally, overall they're still exceptionally structured and even had an anthology I didn't completely hate, which is a win in my book. And next season, we're also going to get some really special stuff. We'll get a bleak two-parter, a new game dominates recess, and a hoarding handyman. So don't be late when we review Season 8. Anyway, that's going to do it for us here at the Lecture Hall. And if you liked what you saw and want to support the channel, consider joining our Patreon or membership program today. $2 a month, and you get special polls, posts, and even your name on this fancy list. Woo! Thank you all so much for watching, and like always, stay strong, keep fighting, and no matter how hopeless it feels, know I believe in you to keep trying. You don't have to save the world in a day. Any amount of progress is a step in the right direction. A rising tide lifts all ships, and I can feel one hell of a wave a-comin'. Goodbye, everybody, and I'll see you all next time.